What's up, DBS fam? Eddie Sandler here with, once again, every single time I go to a Florida event, I see this man, John, the Legends, going on with Invoker. He has yet to not top an event using Invoker. Go ahead and get that. Talk about your tournament experience first.
Yeah, round one we played against Slug hand control. I don't think there's a hand control deck that can beat this deck.
Not at all.
You can just
surge.
You can create cards out of anywhere.
Yeah.
And then round two I played against VJX. It was a tough matchup. My opponent misplayed into me, which gave me the matchup essentially. And then round three I misplayed into Red Broly, losing out into Justice Rails. I misplayed game 1 and 2, but
damn.
As long as I'm learning, I'm not losing.
That was your only loss, huh?
Yeah. And then round four we tied, thinking we both made top. Thinking it was top 8, but we didn't play out top 8, so here I am.
Makes sense. Yeah. So the Red Broly match, I know you said you misplayed. Yeah. How do you feel about that matchup in general? Like, no misplays, no nothing. How do you feel about it?
It's tough. It's still at least 55-45 in their favor. Even if I play perfectly, 55-45. Yeah. There are some changes in the future I'll be making to make that matchup a lot better. As this format becomes more aggro, I have to respect it.
You don't think Violent Rage it buys you a turn, but yeah, I can see.
I play Violent Rage already.
Yeah,
we'll see. All right, going into the deck, everybody knows what this leader does right now. Yeah, if you don't know, he combos with his extra cards essentially every battle. And then he awakens whenever you want with a red-blue card. Try not to awaken with this leader for anybody who's trying to learn this deck. Awaken if you're about to die or if you absolutely need to. The moment you awaken, your leader is really bad.
Advantage,
yeah, it's just a bad leader. Cool, and then on the backside, once you awaken, you can use one of two abilities. If you have a U7 on the field, you can Thought Seize your opponent, take a card out of their hand, and draw a card simultaneously. And then if you want, you can add 3 multicolor extra cards, not red-blue specifically, but any 3 multicolor extra cards from your orb and or drop to your hands. Always try to use either of these effects reactively if you can in the deck. A lot of players make the mistake of trying to do these things proactively, and suddenly they have the wrong answers in their hand, they can't win anymore.
Okay.
Alright, so we'll slide right into the deck. Of course we play the
half $1,000 card.
Yeah, of course we play the card that makes this deck really cool.
Yep.
A lot of people think this is how we win the deck. Most of my games, I don't win with this card. A lot of times this card, if it comes out on 5, I'm not even comboing with it, mainly because I don't have combo power. But it buys you the full turn 5, and your opponent's turn 5, and then you go to your turn 6, and they're definitely dead.
It's like a shot at food in a way, I just realized.
Yeah, it's a super food in many ways. This might be a little new to some players with this deck. I only play 3 of the Vegeta.
I'll talk about this. Yeah. That's a change.
So, in testing, turns out we charge Vegeta way more than we actually play Vegeta. This card never comes down until turn 3, and nowadays I don't even see myself playing it until turn 4.
Yeah.
Additionally, in side decks, if Invoker is scared at an event or people recognize it, they will side cards in versus this card, and then it just becomes a dead card. So, in knowing that you only want to see this card once, and on turn 4, we only play it at 3.
Okay, makes sense. You feel like you saw it every single time, like on turn 4?
Every time.
Okay.
You do
a filter. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, way too fast. This card's at 2, some people play it at 3. This is the same concept as the Vegeta, except even later. You can't play it till 5, and sometimes 6, so we definitely didn't want to see it between.
Felt 2 is the right number 2 for that?
Absolutely. There are some games where I do see it early and I have to either charge or combo with it, but in those games, if I have to charge and or combo with it, I'm being pressured so hard that I probably am not winning through this.
Okay.
So, play to that too. This card's the only card I would have debated playing at more than 3.
It's free 10k. It's an aggro format, maybe. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a card I'm definitely going to deliberate playing at 4 because it gives us 8 super combos to play with. Once again, the problem was it was a card that wasn't live until turn 5, so we didn't want to see 4 of them so early. Previously, when it was a Gotenks heavy format, the green Gotenks, we definitely didn't need to use this early game, so we would just end up charging it if we saw it early, so we kept it at 3 for coming into this. A lot of players are starting to move on to 2 draw combos and 2 beer super combos. I still don't see how that's possible with this deck. A lot of times on turn 2, you're gonna die, and that's the only turn where the draw combo is really good. Turn 3, your play is a tap out a lot, either for Vegeta or a card I teched at the bottom. And then turn 4, you're gonna play the Vegeta down, so you need to find ways to untap that R&D magic. Especially with the release of the Silver Bullet games 2 and 3.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times you aren't gonna be able to play the D magic to untap.
Yes, sir.
This is another card I consider cutting down numbers. I'm going to have to go back to the workshop with this card. It's a great card. It's a U7 blue, 1-drop negate. I mean, it fits everything you want. You want to charge a turn 1, you want to see a turn 2 to save your life. You can combo it later, or you can use it to facilitate your leader effect. However, it's just seeing less and less. It's seeing less value just tapping out for 1 negate and then maybe a 5k combo, especially in such a huge, the aggro format isn't like wide anymore, where this card is great. People are slapping with like 30Ks and 25Ks, where the 5K combo is not that relevant. So I'll talk about other things that this can be once I get into my sideboard. But this is, I mean, regardless, this is still a great card to play. I might move it down to 1 or leave it, or just completely remove it for something else.
Here's the card, baby. Why you can never go all in with a battle card.
This is the reason to play Invoker right here. People can only beat you with Unison and leader attacks because of this card. If you are playing the deck, make sure you focus your negates towards leaders and Unisons, and just, if your opponent makes the mistake of blowing all in, this is your way out.
Yes, sir.
I do play a full 12 of all the fetch cards.
Look at the top card and take it, yeah?
Correct. Right. There are games where you just won't see top until turn 3 or 4, and if you don't max out on these, and I even considered playing some of the new the Demon Wave Explosion card, which is just terrible. I ended up not playing it because it does literally nothing for the deck, except fetch, right? But with 12, you have the option of like speeding through your deck and filtering as fast as you possibly can. Also, on turns that you don't have an extra card, if you decide to cut this down, your leader just loses value on the front side. If you just have to take a damage without cycling a card. For a lot of players, this is one of like the micro decisions for this deck that you have to consider when you don't have top, is whether you want to use this earlier. And the way to do that is just keep track of how many multicolored cards are in your deck as you're thinking about using this. So if you have at least 15 left in your deck, I play 18 total, so if you have at least 15 multicolors left, or even up to 12, you can blind shot this, and most of the time, 2/3 of the time, you will find a multicolored card with this, pushing you ahead by a turn. And there are some times even when you can do this before using top, if you have too many of these in your drop. Those are little micro decisions that this deck needs to be good.
Makes sense.
I do play 2 Instinctive Reprisal. I did respect the fact that this is a aggro-heavy format. This is a great card into VJax. If they mill into Kais or Trunks blockers, you can just remove those blockers while stopping a different attack. This is also a great card into Gotenks. A lot of players don't know this. But being able to remove that Goku on 2 when they go in, or on 3 as they go in with their fusion, it's just super advantageous to prevent them from getting more fusion pieces. Just this card versus decks that kill you on 2, specifically Reboot Gohan, it just gives you an out.
Yeah, it does leader too.
Right, and it gives you an out to not lose on 2. Additionally, I wanted to play this card because your leader can toolbox all your multicolor extra cards on this backside.
Yes, sir.
And this gives you a second negate to pick up with your leader.
Yes, sir. Question, how do you feel about the green Gotenks matchup? I think it's free with this?
I do feel like
yeah, that's what I just thought. As soon as you said that, I'm like, wait a minute. How does green Gotenks beat Invoker? Like, you pretty much stall it out and you just kill him, like, when they can't respond, huh?
Yeah, green Gotenks seems really easy.
It's pretty much, Red Broly's pretty much your real, okay,
Red Broly is the bane of this deck, and I gotta figure out something for that deck. So we move into 2 of this card.
I like 2. I know a lot of people play 1.
Yeah,
I like 2.
I played this card at 1 for so long until green Gotenks became the format. And then this gives you a way to just wipe their board and make them recreate that board again. This also has value against VJax, but more importantly than anything, and why it's back at 2, is it gives you a turn 2 play. So if you think of this deck in chess moves, which I have to, turn 1 you're going to want to play top. Turn 2 you kind of do nothing, except leave energy up for your opponent, but like you want to use Beam to survive your opponent's turn 2 since it's an aggro format. So a way to use one of your 2 energy turn 2 is just to pick this back up from the drop area, and it gives you another card to cycle with your leader. Ultimately, that's why we ended up playing it 2.
So you would keep it at 2 moving forward?
Yeah, I would keep this at 2. I haven't found myself siding one out yet. It also, this card also makes it so that hand control can never win this match.
Yeah, it's not possible.
Yeah, literally impossible.
Keep cycling, yep.
Yeah. This also gives us an answer to Broly, like an early game answer to Broly. Like we do have to use like one of our 2 energy on turn 2 versus Red Broly.
But it's hard for them to reset because they need the energy.
Correct.
Makes sense.
So this gives us something, and then it gives us something to use with our Bean and D Magic. Otherwise, we're just wasting the untap when we use it defensively.
Okay.
Sleepy Boy.
It's my favorite card, man.
It's a card I play at 2. A lot of people played it at 3 or 4. In testing, we realized we really can't resolve this card more than 2 or 3 times a game. A lot of the reason being it completely taps out as a negate, which is not something we want out of our negate. We cut some out for Instinctive Reprisal so that we would have a negate on 2, and this allows us to have a negate technically starting on 3 versus Gotenks. You can just not play anything on turn 3 and then just remove their Gotenks, and now they have to pass their turn. And then you go to 4 and the game is yours. But one of the bigger things in this game that I realized about this leader is that you can turn all of your red-blue multicolor spells into just a toolbox variant. So the earlier you can get one of these in the drop, the safer you feel once you have to awaken. Makes it easy to play with. This is a tech that we played mainly for...
Andrew said you got him with this one.
Yeah.
He forgot about it.
Yeah. Us, Andrew, politely puts it, this deck can play a lot of BS, like random cards that people don't think of. And this is one of those random great BS cards. It's a way to survive on turn 2 because it only takes 2 energy. Additionally, it untaps an energy, so that's super free. If you have Invoker, it's literally a 0-drop bounce something.
I mean, it used to kill Majin Buu back in the day. It's
oh
like,
my god, this thing would destroy the Buu matchup. Nowadays, it's just really good for Red Broly. It's good to beat out Splintering Mind. This VJX's win con versus this deck is slam Splintering Mind as fast as they can and then just press you with this. This answers the Splintering Mind for at least 2 turns and then gives you a way back into the game. Once again, it's another card to get into the drop as fast as you can so you can access it as a toolbox to deal later. And then finally, the one of Tyranny's Cost. This is a card when this deck first came out. I loved playing at 4, but as the format gets faster and faster and faster, you just have very little time to actually resolve this card in the game. This used to be a card that we just tapped out on 2 to play. Nowadays, you can't really afford to do that because you have to save an energy for Bean. So ultimately, this card ends up only being good in the mirror match, which is rare, versus slower matchups like Shin Shenron or even Gotenks. Gotenks ends up having like 13 cards in his hand a lot, so the secondary effect of this actually takes play very often. This is a card that I'm considering taking out if hand control doesn't get bigger, because the only reason why we kept it in was to have a game 1 answer to hand control in addition to other tools. We do play 4 of the top Tournament Power Arena. We don't play any of the Whis. The Whis just, I think it's really
tapping
bad.
out turn 1 is also a risk.
Right, yeah. One of the scary things I learned about this deck is tapping out turn 1 for this card. But like versus Red Broly, one of the misplays I made was not tapping out and holding up a Bean instead.
Yeah. I
think it would have been better to tap out and go to 6 life or go to 2 life and just comfortably sit at 2 on the deck. The deck can very comfortably
defensive. Yeah,
it can just easily play at 1 or 2 life as long as your opponent doesn't have a way to steal that 1 or 2 life. And Red Broly doesn't have a way to steal that 1 or 2 life. So if you can open this card, do it. A lot of people don't. Don't think about the fact that your frontside leader doesn't have to discard a multicolor extra card. It can be any extra cards. Any extra ones you just throw away. You can also awaken with this card. The card's perfect.
It's important to realize what he said earlier in the deck profile, guys. Stay unawakened as long as you can to filter through your deck. That's what he's talking about right there.
I do think this, in a format that's so aggressive, Bean is just a lifesaver.
Alright, this is the question.
Yeah.
I guess the difference between this Bean and the new one was this one untaps?
Yes, correct. Okay. The difference is that this one untaps.
Okay.
This Bean, also, it being blue is a huge deal.
Yes, sir.
There's only 6 mono blue cards. There's only like 10 mono blue cards for TOP early game. So you need to be able to charge this and play TOP if you have to.
Okay.
Additionally, Bean makes this leader like a 20k base.
Base.
Making aggro, like giving aggro a lot of difficulty trying to push through it, making one of like the god cards for this deck.
Yes, sir.
We do play 4 D-Magic. I mean, this was a no-brainer. It's a blue deck. You're playing D-Magic to untap. There's a lot of cool plays you can do with it. Like, if you play Vegeta on 4 and you leave the 1 energy up, you can D-Magic into a Topo right afterwards to buy a lot of attacks, and then you automatically get to turn 5 and win the game. The sparking effect is really good for refilling your hand versus aggro or whatever you need to do. I forgot to mention, the leader can self-awaken if you absolutely need to. So another reason why hand control just can't beat you. So, there's
not only that, awaken and grab 3 extra cards.
Or you can just take a life every time you want, because a lot of hand control just doesn't attack you, thinking that you keep your hand count down. You just take your own life when you want to. This was definitely a respect card for today's format.
Broly and Green Gotenks?
Yeah, Dark Broly, Green Gotenks, Red Broly.
How was that matchup? The Dark Broly matchup?
Dark Broly in initial testing was impossible.
Yeah.
We just could not win the game.
What was the issue?
Topo was irrelevant.
Yeah.
Topo. They would just ditch cards to attack through Topo, and then we were done. Also,
true.
Our leader being a 15 or 20k base would be.
It's not, 30, 30.
Dark Broly,
That's right.
So we had to find a way to buy turns versus them.
Okay.
And this was ultimately the answer. Unfortunately, this card doesn't solo answer Red Broly. They have enough 19, 20k beaters. You have to find these cards together in the early game to buy turns, not even to beat the deck, just to buy turns. So we ended up having to play this. This has like niche uses in other matchups too, versus Sin Shenron obviously has its uses. In VJX, if they play the chain, it has its uses. So I found a lot of use out of it today. The only thing I didn't like about this card was that it was a mono red card instead of a blue card. But even then, like in super dead matchups, you can still cycle with the leader, you can still awaken with it, like it had its uses. And then finally, my favorite addition to the deck.
Holy Jesus, you gotta talk about that one, man.
Maybe the Unknown Parasite. I mean, this is a lot weaker now that I'm doing a deck profile, but
that sounds like holy Jesus. You play a Unison.
So we were thinking about what like the best Unison to play in this deck. Originally, we wanted to play the Red Jiren, but we can't charge a mono red card or even any kind of red card on turn 1, so we couldn't play Jiren until 4. that meant that we had to play a blue Unison if we wanted to play it on 3. This is way better than playing Vegeta on 3 for so many reasons. In the decks that it can be played into, so non-aggro, so any kind of mid-range and up, go tanks and up, it almost seals our victory. Being able to rearrange the top cards of your deck with top and then drawing
After drawing one, yeah.
and then exactly choose what you want to draw from top is super strong. Additionally, you get to add an extra attack with your leader. So this deck only attacks once per turn historically with its leader. Now you get a second difficult to remove attacker, helping you clear boards in Unison's a lot easier. Additionally, the fact that it goes to 5 instantly on play, and then uptick to 5, means it's super sticky. And if anybody spends attacks on this, that's
not gonna kill you.
That's essentially this card negating attack for you, right? And then the -5, I mean, it's not going to be so useful now, but the -5 baits a lot of players. A lot of players don't read the card and don't read the fact that you need a mono blue leader, so they start trying to keep off the fact that there's a -5 coming in, and they try to keep this thing at 3 all game.
That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah. That's just so many rounds that this thing wins for me as a result. Not to mention the fact that you are a blue leader, you do have a blue Unison, it does threaten God Sealing Trunks. Once again, not as strong after this deck profile, but it does threaten God Sealing Trunks for your kill turns or for their plays. The opponent does have to play with it in the back of their mind and try to keep it in check. So this has become one of my favorite cards of the deck.
Would you bump it up in the future or not really?
Absolutely not. I started with that 2 and I realized drawing 1 was great. Drawing a second...
Yeah, you can't even get rid of it. It's stuck in your hand.
You literally have to only awaken it or charge it. It was freaking terrifying.
That is true. I have 2 more Vegetas if you want it. TPs.
Finally, we're going to the side deck.
Yes, sir.
So
I was going to ask you about this. I know a lot of people main it.
This is the card I'm going to main again.
Yeah, I was about to say, because it helps you in your aggro matchup. Especially against Broly, you survive it, you clock them back with a 20k, it's insane.
Yeah, and this takes out, the bomb.
Yes,
also, if they make the mistake of attacking with the lower drop Broly, the TP Broly, or attacking with something while the TP Broly is out, you can remove the TP Broly.
You get punished. You get punished.
Yeah. So this is a card I'm probably going to main over either the Roshis or something else in the future. I'm going to make space for it. Maybe over the Instinctive.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Yeah. It was just in a Gotenks heavy format, this card was terrible.
Yeah.
But in a format where VJX runs around unchecked or Red Broly runs around just for free, this card just does infinite work.
Yes, sir.
And it gives you a second win cut. So versus Red Broly, a lot of times I'm siding out my Victor Strike and my 2 burn 6 drops. Because if the game gets to turn 5, they ran out of resources and or I'm already going to push for game by combat. They take themselves down to 1, so there's no reason for me to keep those cards in. And the alternative win cut to Red Broly is just playing the 3-drop Rival Seeker and then just burning with that as a Goku. Because they only have 2 life to get through. So we didn't need that. And this becomes a super strong win con as a result.
Yes, sir.
This is a card I'm definitely going to main moving forward. Chocos.
How'd you like this out of the main?
Yeah, I hated this card in the main because...
Think it's a necessary evil?
VJX was playing Koitsukai now, right? Everybody has, blue has God Sealing Technique.
Yes, sir.
Green has that Doria card that can move it in the sideboard. So it just seemed like the only color this was good into was Red Broly and or yellow. And yellow doesn't have an aggro deck right now that really beats this. So we took it out of the main. This card, also the fact that this card costs 2 energy is really rough, right? It requires you to only play the Vegeta, the D magic move into this play. So we took it out of the main, but it's still absolutely necessary for Red Broly. You can play it on 2 to buy you your turn 2. If you see in game 2, if you see a VJX player in game 2 doesn't have the Koitsukai, because you can see their whole deck. Yeah. So you kind of have to track the deck. If they're not playing the Koitsukai, you can move this card in, and it does buy you a turn versus VJX, versus aggro decks. Majin Vegeta is a great card to punish, but other than that, I hate the fact that this card costs 2. It's just necessary to play it as a red leader.
So you keep it in the sideboard?
Absolutely keeping the sideboard. I'm not moving it back in yet.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
What does this come in for?
So with the release of the Silver Bullet, I figured out...
Oh, you popped it, yeah. Okay.
I figured everybody this weekend was going to play the Silver Bullet. Not for Invoker specifically, but for
Baby Blue.
Yeah, for Baby or Mono Blue. And just because I'm playing a blue deck, it would come in versus my deck.
Sure.
So this gave me an auto answer to that card. It also conveniently has that bean effect for anti-aggro or wide aggro, and then you can of course pop that card. It also, VJX plays their Silver Bullet, it has function popping the Trunks or the Kai. It can also, it's technically a 1 energy 10k combo if you really need it to be, giving it so many uses in the matchup. The fact that it's a red card, of course, is not the greatest, but once again, worst case, it can be cycled and awakened with. This is a card I definitely won't be playing again this weekend, after this weekend.
I was about to say, you tap 3 for this?
Yeah. Back in the day, this used to be so good versus VJX because when they played like Demonic Absorption or the SS Vegeta that can like warp your thing for 2 energy, you can just choose not to play Vegeta on 3, and then when they commit to a board, you can use this as a response. This also has like worth versus some of like the lesser useful decks like Rogue decks. It has a lot of value, but beyond that, like this is a $40 like paperweight. It's just not worth playing. I wouldn't play this again. It does have value that it's a U7 card for anybody that does think about it, and it's a red card, of course. But other than that, I wouldn't touch that card. I do play a second copy of Combination Attack in a side deck. Like I said, it gives us an answer. Any deck that kills you on turn 2 that isn't Reboot Gohan, this card is just a great turn 2 answer for. Like I mentioned earlier, if you don't have this versus VJX when they land Splintering Mind, you're way behind. So this lets you catch up. I would still play this on the side. This is in case hand control got out of control, but nobody was playing hand control. No, I mean, I say that wrong, because my first opponent was hand control. And then this, of course, helped me propel ahead. This is a card I constantly debate taking out inside because of how good this deck plays in hand control already. This also comes in versus Green Gotenks, because their deck can sort of hand control, and like I mentioned earlier, they have the 13 cards in hand very often. So this is a card I'm going to debate playing again. Before I get into that, I guess, this is an answer to Reboot Gohan. Just versus a deck that we can't, like, that kills us while we're on 1 energy. We need to have extra negates in the deck. This finds us an extra negate, removes a 1-drop if we really need to. And versus like Hyper Aggro decks versus Broly, it's even worth having in because you can negate, it goes to the drop, and now any blue card becomes a second negate as you go higher up the chain. I would still keep this in. I need to find more of a reason to take it out than it is to keep it in. But for now, this is still the best negate I think of. Alternatives would be like Whis' Coercion, the red one that's all the red version of this, but like this for now is still the best version. In testing, we found that Soul Striker was slightly a more difficult matchup than we thought it would be. The reason why we play one of this card, we want to see this card on turn 2 and never again. So if we see the card, it's great. If we don't see the card, it doesn't affect us. Right? Worst case scenario, it's a blue card. We can awaken with it, we can combo it, we can charge with it. But this card does slow Soul Striker's pressure down, and that's another one of those decks that like we have to wait until turn 6 to beat. That way we can play around God Sealing Technique. But if we get to turn 6 and this lets us buy extra turns to turn 6, then we automatically win the matchup. So this is just a reason to play that. And then finally, my last tech, a second copy of the Baby Unison, paired with 2 God Sealing Techniques.
When did this come in? Or is it just flex?
No, it's not just flex. So while the Gotenks matchup is really good, the actual checkmate turn of the Gotenks matchup was difficult to do. If we go into turn 5 and Gotenks is able to hold up like 3 negates, we can't apex them. And they hold up multiple freezes, we can't really burn them to death, right? So the other option was either wait till turn 6, in which we can get Cell Xeno for half our hand, or we can just board into this, right? If Gotenks spends attacks on this, we're not losing our life. And if they don't spend attacks on this, our checkmate turn is really easy. Because this will beat out the Frieza. Yeah, this beats out the Frieza, and then we burn them for a game, and there's an auto win. And now the matchup is actually an auto win.
Yeah. So you keep this in the feature just for that matchup, right?
If Gotenks makes a showing again at the next event, then we'll keep this in. It also has value versus some rogue decks that don't have access to deflect as much. Any kind of slow matchup like Sin Shenron, this also auto like yeah. So like we'll keep this in for the slower decks, but I'm gonna try to commit less and less sideboard space to slow decks and just try to push more towards anti-aggro and survive the game. Yeah. Yes, but yeah, for now this will probably be my only anti-control.
Any shout-outs you want to give before we go?
I mean, all my friends down in Miami, they always support me. And I mean, Team Foe, you guys are practically my family as well.
Want to join us, I'm telling you.
Not yet. But yeah, shout out to all my friends, my testing partners, my boys up in Pensacola. And shout out to all the people out there that make this game great.
Yes, sir. Shout out to you, man. You come to every event we host, so we appreciate the love, man, and hope to see you in Top Cut and March for the 5K, man.
Absolutely.
All right, bro. Good luck, man.
Gotcha.